Hey, blessings, 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 everybody. This is Elegant Champagne, aka Elemental Keys, and you're tuned into Abstract Thoughts of a Transitioned Mind. So, today I was actually wondering, what is something that just about everybody can possibly relate to when it comes to complaints? And not to be on a negative side, but just bear with me. Not necessarily complaints of talking about people or things to that nature, but something that we kind of got in the habit of relying on just about for everyday things and just about every possible thing that you need. You rely solely on this. Give you a hint. Technology. Well, for me actually understanding technology, one of the main things I love about technology is the device that we all know as a computer. Whether it be utilized through a cellular device, a laptop, a desktop, or anything of that nature. But one of the main things that I understand that a lot of people complain about is usually their cellular devices. When it comes to either they have a bad network connection, they have slow data speed, or they don't have enough space on their phone or for their internal or even sometimes external storage. So that's why most people get a SD card, basically for external storage. But haven't you heard of a person or even found yourself or found someone complaining about they're trying to watch or share with a person a very interesting video? But when they try to pull it up, either you or the other person is trying to be patient and they're constantly just waiting, and what's supposed to be maybe a 2 or 3 minute video turns into you possibly waiting for about maybe 8 minutes. Honestly, I'm speaking from experience. And you kind of lose the excitement and actually wanting to share the video because it's kind of an embarrassment. But then at the same time, the other person is kind of like, they kind of losing patience and they kind of don't really care too much about what you want to show them. So I've come to understand it's amazing how technology actually somewhat shows a reflection of how we ourselves and even how our minds actually work in everyday things. The reason why I actually say that is whenever a person is complaining about they have a bad network coverage, or they're in a bad service area or a dead zone, or their speed is slowed down or anything to that nature, usually they say the solution for you to do to resolve that problem is usually you take the battery out of your phone, or you reboot the computer, you restart the computer or whatever device it is. That way it just shuts down everything completely. So whatever may have been causing an interference, it no longer has a connection with the server of or the IP address of the phone or the device, whatever it is. So what I've actually understood is by doing that, it basically is somewhat of a form of meditation, if you can actually say that. The reason why I say that is usually whenever you go into meditative state, or if you start to meditate and you basically don't think about anything. You're not thinking about what you're going to do. You're not thinking about yourself being hungry. You're not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, or even the next 5 minutes. You're just letting whatever happens be. You're not processing any information. You're just living in the now, so to speak. And from me actually experiencing that myself, you really are at peace to where you can actually reconnect to your true self. And what I mean by that is when you shut down a cellular device or whatever form of technology you have that deals with streaming data or any form of connection, what happens is from you going from point A to point B through your course of journey throughout the day, what happens is your cell phone actually has like a smartphone. If you have a smartphone or an iPhone, whatever device you have, usually what happens is it connects to the closest tower or satellite that's within that location. So depending on where you are, it can do that up to maybe 5 to 6, 7, 10 times, if that. sometimes, depending on your location, just so it can keep up with an efficient amount of speed or even with the data for you. Now, what that can actually do is it causes somewhat of a confusion, I guess you can use. Forgive me for the terminology, but from my understanding, it seems as okay, your phone is trying to figure out okay, what server should I connect to? And I'm pretty sure most of you actually seen a feature on your phone where it actually says network server no connection or errors, whatever, anything in that nature. It lets you know that it's not connecting properly. So you usually have to disconnect and then reconnect so that way it can have a proper clear stream for the connection. I've actually understood is sometimes what happens, that's what happens with our minds. And when that does happen, we have to sometimes really just shut down completely so we can realign ourselves, as I mentioned before. And when you do that, you actually hear better, you think more clearly, you're able to see much better, and you're not looking through a whole veil of possible feelings, emotions, or the overwhelming feeling of the circumstance or situation. Because sometimes that's what can happen. It's like you're trying to automatically adjust to okay, well, let me try to adjust myself so I can work and function properly here, so my mind can learn how to rebalance itself, so to speak, over here, or so that way I can remember what I was supposed to do throughout the. And it's like it goes on and on and on, and all that does is cause a complete confusion to where you're not even able to make proper judgments or decisions when it comes to you making decisions. So sometimes we actually have to take that example from how our phones or our device, computer, whatever it is. We have to actually learn from how these things are really actual reflections of what we actually go through a lot of times. And if we're able to find a solution for these devices, that means that it's just as simple as it can be for them. It should be even simpler for us. Because if we know how to troubleshoot and find out a solution for that, our troubleshooting is just us completely just letting everything go, just having a peaceful moment, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you reboot. So, with that being said, this can actually really affect you when it comes to you actually trying to learn something new. You can be in class or a seminar, a church service, a match, wherever it is that you go, where you're trying to obtain and learn some new information. But because you didn't reboot yourself and shut down and reboot it yourself so you can actually refresh your server, which is, in other words, your mind, your brain at the same time, you end up blocking important information and you end up blocking the processing speed that that is required in order for you to obtain this information. Because sometimes you don't want to be too slow when it comes to listening to something, then you have to comprehend it because they're already on to the next thing. You don't, when you end up experiencing that, you kind of lose either interest or you miss the mark of exactly what they were trying to explain to you. And it kind of throws you off course. So what I've come to understand is sometimes we have to empty out a lot of things that we actually end up experiencing, whether it be throughout the course of the day, the hour, the moment, the week, whatever it is, whatever time it is. Sometimes you have to just completely empty out and not even necessarily say you forget everything completely, but for that moment, what you want to do is completely just be neutral. Just allow yourself to be able to download without having a bunch of background data going on, because all it does is cause an interference from you being able to process a lot of things. So sometimes you want to just take a moment to breathe, take a moment to not think about anything. That's why it's very important for, I recommend anybody to make sure that you do have a moment of meditation throughout the course of the day. No matter how many times you do it, at least you do it at least once. So that way you can think clearly. And I'm guaranteeing you, you will see better results when you actually do this. But even back to this topic, even when it comes to you actually trying to explain something to a person, this is an example of what I was speaking about, where you may try to show somebody a video or something to that nature that can be very interesting, but because it's taking so long for the data to connect or for it to stream the data, it's constantly buffering. Has used YouTube, and you always have that thing where it's constantly buffering, and it's like, okay, you see increments of the video, maybe like 5 to 10 increments of a second. So it kind of makes you lose interest. What you don't want to happen is, for instance, I've actually done this a little bit in the video because I have so much going on in the back of my mind and I'm trying to get to you a point. It's interfering because now it's like, okay, it's processing, but at the same time, it's like, because I have so much information, I'm not even really having a direct connection with you guys. But take a moment. And there you go, just reboot. When you do that, you think a lot clearer. You have an understanding of what point you're trying to make, and you get straight to the point. In other words, you don't lose interest. As you see, this video has been going on for 11 minutes and 13 seconds and counting. And the point that I'm basically making to you is, take a moment to breathe sometimes. Take a moment to just release everything and just let it be as it is. And when you do that, you open up every possible port to be able to download the important information that you need. And you could basically discard all the trash, or what they consider like the pop-ups. You don't want pop-ups just popping up here and there. It becomes very distracting and you lose the people's attention. So when it comes to you explaining something to a person, make sure that you clear your mind before you even go into speaking with that person. So that way you can actually get the message across properly, within a timely manner, and efficiently and effectively, where to impact them and leave that mark. Because everything that you've just heard me speak about, I've been saying the same thing over and over, and it sounds like I'm just rambling, and you may have lost interest already just within probably 5 minutes of the video. But this is how our devices work. You keep on pressing rewind or swiping it back to the beginning so you can hear it play back. So you're like, okay, now I want to hear exactly what they say. So that way it's not pop, and pausing. And then you rewind it, and then it says, okay, it's not pausing. So that way you can actually hear what I was just saying properly. And now you can actually comprehend and process the data more effectively and efficiently within a timely manner. When you do this, you can actually understand this is how we appear to some people. That's why some people may not even want to hear you speak a lot of times, or even myself. I'm a witness of that. So that's what you don't. You don't want to be a person who has a bad service connection, or who doesn't have enough high-speed data, or that has insufficient space, is the word I was looking for when it comes to the data and the space that you have available on your device. So sometimes you just have to clear all of that. The caches, the cookies, whatever they call it with the technology. Sometimes you want to just clear that and just get straight to the point. When you do that, I guarantee you will find yourself to be a more effective and efficient communicator when it comes to you speaking to a person to deliver very important messages. But as I stated, this whole series is Abstract Thoughts of a Transitioned Mind. And this was a In My Element series moment. Guys, have a blessed one. Tune in next time. Blessings, blessings.